All right, guys, we did it. We got it done. This is the third and final episode on the lost history of Tennessee whiskey. Let's get into it.
Welcome to the Whiskey Showman Podcast.
All right, guys, thank you so much for hanging out with me. This is a lot of fun. I hope you guys are enjoying this book club. Now, I will tell you this. After this, we are going to take a break, get into some other stuff before I even think about doing another book club. I'm just going to tell you that right now. So if you did not like this, that's fine. It was a lot of work on my end. It was a lot of reading. It was a lot of listening to the audiobook. It was a lot of things. Okay. So we are going to get into the last 10 chapters of this book. Well, actually 9, I guess you could say, 11 through, or not 11, I'm sorry, 21 through 30. See, I'm already screwing up. But first and foremost, today I'm recording this episode early because I will be gone next weekend, won't be able to record it. So it is actually Father's Day today. So I would like to give a happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there listening. You're the man. I know it's hard. It's hard out here for a dad. Not that it's not hard for moms, but it's hard. It's hard sometimes. Keeping our kids alive is sometimes a full-time job. I appreciate all of y'all. We had a great day. It's about, what is it? It's like 5 p.m. on Father's Day, which is Sunday. We had a little Bible time. And then I said, you know what? I was reading already. I'm going to do my little podcast so we don't have to we actually got some rain. So it's only about 78 degrees in the shed today. Can't complain about that. I do have the cooler going, so if you can kind of hear it in the background, it'll go away once I start talking more regularly. I noticed that it does that at the very beginning, and then once it notices my voice, it will kind of cut the background off completely. Spent a lot of money on this mic, as you guys well know, and I feel like it's making it a little bit crispier than, Okay, so since it is Sunday night, I thought, let's have a drink, but not just any drink, right? Let's have some Tennessee whiskey, right? Well, this is a special sample that was sent to me by Games and Grains. He is a guy, his name is Richard Muse. He's out there. He actually sent these to me, a pretty large pack. He's been following along on this book club, whatever you want to call it. And he's given me some really good feedback on it. He's actually from Tennessee, and I am drinking out of my brand new old-fashioned waste glass. If you guys are on the Patreon, you'll see, at first I thought this was a sticker. It's a Glencairn, and it has, I don't know, like a 2-inch round adhesive thing on it. I thought it was just a sticker. And he said it's actually like plastic that was melted on there, which is really cool. He said, I still wouldn't trust it to go in like a dishwasher, but of course it's Darth Vader because he's a Star Wars nut with a big beard because he has a big, long, white beard. He's holding up an old-fashioned as well. So I'm going to be drinking out of this glass, but let's talk about what we're going to put in that glass because this one's special. Now, you guys remember Old Dominic, right? They were on the podcast not too long ago. They sent over some whiskeys for me to try out. They were absolutely fantastic. I'm loving it, right? So we're doing Tennessee whiskey. Why not talk about Old Dominic, right? But this one's a little bit more, I would say, more special than some of the ones that I've had in the past. This is a single barrel pick. This is their straight Tennessee whiskey coming in at 127.1 proof. This is a 6-year-old. The mash bill 75, 13, 12. So a typical mash bill, as you would say. So we're going to dip into this. I'm going to give you a little tasting notes on it later on, maybe. I'm going to do about a half an ounce. I might finish it off throughout the podcast. Who knows? I am working tomorrow, but I still have to do my deep dive tonight. Every Sunday night, I do a deep dive and post it on my socials. It's just something I've been doing for a while, actually. It's just a write up about a whiskey. I don't know exactly which whiskey I'm going to do tonight. I don't think it'll be a Tennessee whiskey since I'm doing this one. But I always try to find unique and different whiskeys to do because some people like that. And then lately what I've been doing that whenever I release a podcast with a guest, like when I released the one with I'm forward thinking now with Laws, I would do a deep dive of Laws whiskey. Does that make sense? So just understand that. All right, let's get on the nose on this. 127 proof, so it's a little hot. Oh man, that's nice. It's creamy. It is a little ethanol on the nose. I can't stick my nose all the way in it either. This is the first drink of the day. I will. No, it's not. I will let you know. We went to a barbecue place here in Texas called Leroy and Lewis. I might have talked about them before. They just got second place in the best barbecue in Texas by Texas Monthly, which is a big deal. It's like the thing. That's what Aaron Franklin with Franklin Barbecue won a long time ago. They got number 2 this year. I feel like next year they're going to get number 1, and I'll tell you why. I did have a beer there. That's all I was trying to say. I had a beer. Their barbecue, oh my God. It is some of the, I mean, obviously for a good reason, some of the best barbecue I've ever had in my life. We brought some home. I'm going to be snacking on it after I get done with this podcast for sure. We had brisket, of course. I had been there once before, and they only served brisket on Sunday. So I wasn't able to get the brisket. We waited in line. We waited in line like you would do if you were hunting some allocated whiskey, but I was hunting some barbecue. That's all I cared about. And so we had brisket. We had what was it called? Man, I forgot the other cut of meat. It was another cut of meat. It tasted just like the brisket, but it was a little bit different, a little more meaty. You know, brisket it falls apart on you. You know what I mean? Like this one was more steak-like. Anyway, and then we had some beef cheek. Man, that was so good. And then we had 2 different types of sausage. One was just a regular, it was a mixed pork and beef sausage. And then the other one was a Mexican chorizo and jalapeno and cheese. Oh my God. It was amazing. And then we had a side, which was that same Mexican chorizo with potatoes, and they're like cooked together. It was called papas con whatever, chorizo. And then we had a slaw that was a Caesar salad slaw. Yeah, it was really good. Bread. And then they have, what else do we have? There was something else we got. I don't remember. Oh, I had an Arnold Palmer as well. It was excellent. But that was non-alcoholic, of course. We had something else. Anyway, onion rings. And then we got a hamburger as well because, you know, kids. The hamburger was really good. It was smoked on the pit, all the things, had a really big stringy cheese on it, you know, that type. All of it was amazing. We got way too much. It was $1 million, you know what I mean? But for a good cause. We waited in line for over an hour just to get the food. Luckily, they still had everything. They said they don't normally sell out till about 2. So we got there at 10:30. They didn't open till 11, and we thought, oh, that would be plenty of time. Nope, wasn't plenty of time. We were like 60th in line or something like that. So again, not a huge deal, but so I know I'm rambling at this point. Let's get in on the taste on this, Old Dominic. Oh wow. Ooh. That is a lot going on. It's a little spicy. Man, but the flavors that are there are really nice. But I do get that. I mean, comparing it to bourbon, right? I do get that coating of just, I'm going to say it, just smoothness all throughout the whole thing. Man, that is really nice. I really like that. So I'm going to be enjoying this dram as we go through the next. Okay, so when we last left off, I had given you guys a couple of questions and stuff about the chapters 11 through 20. And when we left off, Tennessee had began its own prohibition efforts ahead of the national prohibition. Many distilleries shuttered and forced to go underground. The economic toil of the families and towns. Yeah, we left it at kind of a crappy point in the history book, if you want to say that. But redemption will come. We can hope, right? I hope the book doesn't end like that. No, it doesn't. You know it doesn't. Because we're drinking Tennessee whiskey right now. So it obviously did not flop. Oh, okay. So we're jumping straight into it. Transition music. Here we go. Wrong one. Oh, well, crap. You get what you get. Sorry. High dollar mixer, and I don't even know how to use it. Okay. Chapter 21. And these are my notes that I wrote out to keep me in line, to keep the process flowing like it should. Chapter 21, it's survival tactics, right? This talked a lot about how distillers tried to stay afloat, making medicinal whiskey, using export loopholes, and shifting to other businesses completely. It talked about creative ways of whiskey makers using their knowledge and trying to preserve that during a dry time. See, when you can't make whiskey, how are you going to be a whiskey maker if you can't make whiskey, right? It's kind of difficult. Drinking a little water too. Just a little water. I worked all day yesterday, and it was Saturday, obviously. I'd worked all week. I'm on a project. I had to finish it, right? The bad thing about working on Saturday is you have no time, right? You have no time at all to do anything else. Like, I got home, it's 4 p.m., right? When I got home finally, I took a shower, and then I was supposed to be on Doc Martinez Old Fashioned Ways live stream that he was doing. He did a 2-day live stream, not 2 consecutive days, two nights. He gave away 22 bottles of whiskey, hand delivered, of course. A whole bunch of other things, cigars and samples and blah, 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 and so much stuff. He gave away a George T. Stagg. I'm not lying. There was a separate raffle going in the Discord, and somebody won a George T. Stagg. Super cool. I mean, super gracious as well. I'm sure he made a little, hopefully he made a little scratch on it. Because he was doing donations and super chats and stuff like that. When you have that many followers, he has 2,300, I think now. It was for his two, but he likes twos, I guess, or whatever. No, it's actually his birthday. It's February 22nd, so he thought, whatever. Anyway, moving on. Yeah, so I did that, and I was beat after that. We shared a dram together. The Stranahan's maple finished, really good. We shared a dram together, and then I watched for a little bit more. My kids and wife had gone to a graduation party, and I was like, I'm beat. I can't do it. And so I stayed home, and me and the dogs slept. I slept in my chair for a little bit. Not gonna lie, I did. I had the live stream going in the background. My eyes are just like, it wasn't from the whiskey either. Good Lord. It was from I'm so tired. And so today I haven't done anything, obviously. And then I got to work 2 days, and then we go to the beach, which is going to be a lot of fun because just hanging out at the beach. I will say I'm on the fence if I'm even going to bring whiskey. I know. And the next podcast, I'll talk about the beach. So just understand that. Before, when I was buying bottles, I'm not really buying bottles right now. I would go to, there's a liquor store down at the coast. And now you have to understand, when you live in Texas, our coast is horrible. It's not great. It's water. It is water. It's salty. It has fish in it and sharkies stuff. But it's brown, stinky. We're in the Gulf of Mexico or America or whatever the hell they're calling it this week. And it's not clear water. It's not anything to write home about, but it's a beach. and people go and have a good time, and that's all that matters, right? And it's that beach vibe, right? Do you understand that beach vibe? Yeah, that's what I'm more into. I'm more wearing my flip flops. You know what I mean? It's 10 o'clock in the morning. This dude's over here drinking a beer already. Whatever. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. No. But normally I'll go pick up a bottle, but I don't know if I'm going to. I'm thinking about bringing a bottle just to have, right? One from the house. I have a Backbone. You guys ever heard of Backbone? I have a Backbone Blackstrap Molasses finished. No, Blackstrap Molasses Rum finished. Sorry. Blackstrap Molasses Rum finished. I thought that would be kind of Caribbean, you know, kind of whatever, because everything else I have is going to be, it's not going to work. I thought about, I have a Penelope Valencia. It's like a orange wine finished Penelope. I thought about that, but I also thought about going to the liquor store and looking, seeing what they had. I've heard word that the Star Hill Maker's Mark is out now, and that supposedly it's really good. I really want to try it. Anyway, moving on. Chapter 22. Now let's have a little drink. If you guys haven't tried Old Dominic, you need to try it. It's absolutely amazing. It's really good. And that proof point, it's high, but man, it's singing to me right now. Okay, we're going to talk a little bit about chapter 22. I'm reading from my notes. So those of you on the Patreon, if I'm looking down, I'm looking at my notes. I'm sorry. Post-prohibition rebirth. The national repeal didn't immediately fix Tennessee's distilling issues. Yeah, you're right. Few distilleries returned, and some regions stayed dry. It started the long road of recovery for Tennessee whiskey's name. So you think about like the early years of Tennessee, we're the early years before Prohibition. Tennessee whiskey was brand new, and everybody wanted it. Everybody needed it. Everybody wanted it. They were competing. They weren't, but they were competing with Kentucky bourbon. I'm sorry, man. I'm sleepy. It rained, made me sleepy. Anyway, so like everybody wanted it, and then they had a prohibition, which Tennessee had a prohibition earlier than the regular prohibition, and some of those counties are still dry today, and we're going to talk about that a little later. But it's so crazy to think that, how do I say this? That there's dry counties today, and I know there is. There's dry counties here in Texas as well. You just can't buy liquor in the county for some reason. I don't know why. Some foreign law that they had, they just didn't want you to, buy liquor, whatever. So they just go to the next county over. I don't understand. Like, it's not that big of a deal. And most of these counties are like small. They're small counties, and there's not really a lot of people in them. So why does it matter when there's 200 people or 1,000 people in your county? So what? Why is it making it dry, making it not dry? It doesn't really matter. Anyway, so it was a long road for recovering Texas whiskey names, especially because you kind of fall off the wayside when you've been gone for 15, 18 years, something like that. No, everybody forgets, because the mindset even back then was the new, everything's onto new things like we are now. We're onto these new things, and we don't look back a whole lot. But save that for the end. So we are going to deep dive one of these chapters as well, and I'll when we get to it, I will let you know. Okay, so chapter 23, the Jack Daniels effect. Yeah, so we're going to pause on that one. How do you feel about Jack Daniels? Because I will say, and I said this on the podcast with Drew Hannush as well, that I'd always poo-pooed Jack Daniels just because I did not care for it, right? I always did. I said it wasn't good. I said it didn't taste good. I said it was poorly made, even sometimes. But I will tell you that since reading, reading makes your mind bigger, I guess. Since reading this book, I have wanted to seek out more Tennessee whiskey. I had actually bought, I threw them all away. I had actually bought a bottle of George Dickel Bottled and Bond because I heard it was really good. And I tried it. I did not like it. I tried it again. I did not like it. Not different bottles, the same bottle multiple times. I put it in old fashioned. I did not like it in an old fashioned. And you put enough sugar and bitters on something, you can make a turd taste good, right? So just saying. But I have heard, again, this is hearsay, that the George Dickel Leopold Brothers collaboration, really nice. If somebody has a sample of that, send it to me. I'll do a full review on it. I will. So Jack Daniels to me has always been not the black sheep, but I don't go to it, right? Until somebody said, you need to try the single barrel proof rye and see how you like that. And I'm like, okay. Psych Man's texted me at the same time. You need to try the rye. And I was like, okay, I'll try the rye. And it was really good. It really was. It had great flavors, great proof point. I'm still trying to get over this crap. It's almost gone. It's almost gone, guys. I haven't been coughing or anything like that. I went to the doctor, the naturopath, of course, and got a couple shots in my butt the other day. And it freaking hurt, man. They do these cocktails with like high B12 and whatever else it is. It's probably fish heads or something. I don't even know. At this point, I feel better. That's all that matters. Okay. So I've always poo-pooed Jack Daniels, and I don't know why. So I'm trying to get more and more into not only Jack Daniels, but Tennessee whiskey in general. Just understand that. And this Old Dominic, it's freaking nice. Anyway, the Jack Daniels effect in chapter 23. Jack Daniels emerges as a dominant force in the revival because he had the money and the backing to do it, right? He had smart branding, marketing, and a consistency that earned international recognition because he was one of the ones that really pushed marketing. Back in the day, you just made whiskey to have. It was the whiskey that was in your, in your store. That was the whiskey you made. You weren't like trying to sell it. You weren't trying to market it to people. You were like, hey, do you want our whiskey? This is our whiskey. You can have our whiskey. Does that make sense? Like they weren't out there trying to market this whiskey to other people. Jack Daniels changed that. He started making more whiskey and he started marketing it. And next thing you know, they're hearing about it in other countries. So, but in doing all this, it overshadowed a lot of the smaller producers that were doing really cool stuff. And Jack Daniels kind of just went over them, which happens, it really happens. Like people, how do I say that? Like you either grow or get out of the way. And Jack Daniels grew really fast because he had the backing, right? And that's normally how these go. You got good money into the business, you got investors, you got whatever, you can make it pretty profitable, pretty fast, and pretty big, pretty fast. And then with the industrialization after Prohibition, where they started making glass, you know what I mean? Like being able to blow it with machines and make consistent glass all the time. Then that's when you started getting actual labels and all those things on the bottles to where you could recognize this is a bottle of Jack Daniels, right? Instead of this is some unmarked flask from some guy I bought down the street, right? So understand that. So chapter 24, missed opportunities. In this chapter, Hannush discusses how Tennessee failed to capitalize on the bourbon boom. Yeah, they did. And it factors included restrictive laws, cultural hesitation, and lack of investment. The Kentucky raced ahead in whiskey prominence. So they just didn't have the funding, basically, to be a household name like Kentucky bourbon was. And they were making bourbon. And actually, a lot of the original bourbons that were made in Kentucky were charcoal filtered as well. I already said that, I know, but it's just, I don't know. I don't get it. So, like, it's so sad that they just failed to do their job. Not to do their job, but you know what I mean? Like, it is a very missed opportunity because Tennessee whiskey is very well known right now, but it's only because of the few, right? The few that you hear about, which is kind of crappy, right? I want to know about the ones that he talks about in the book. You know what I mean? That's the ones I want to know about. So in chapter 25, it's a whisper of revival. The seed of craft distillation begins to take root. Advocates start pushing for law changes and historical recognition. Growth interest in reclaiming Tennessee whiskey's rich heritage. Oh, yep. Rich heritage. Sorry, everybody's blowing me up, and I just had to respond to a couple of text messages. You know what I mean? Because if you don't, people think, "Oh my God, what's wrong? You're mad at me," or something like that. So where were we? Oh, whisper. Okay. The seeds of craft distillation began taking root. So that's cool. They're coming back. The crafty guys are coming back. Advocates start pushing for law changes and historical recognition, which names began to be like, hey, this is the blah, blah, blah family. We've been doing this for 50 years already. You know, that the heritage part of it, which Kentucky had the heritage from the beginning. I don't know why Tennessee didn't really care about that as much. Chapter 26, revisiting the Lincoln County process. This talks more about the Lincoln County process and the charcoal mellowing and the leaching, whatever they call it. This deep dives into the origins, the myths, the regulations around charcoal filtering. Is it uniquely Tennessee? And then Hannush debates the folklore versus fact. So this is really cram-packed. Something's biting me on my leg. This was a cram-packed episode. Not episode. I'm sorry. Chapter 26 had a lot of information, a lot of really good when it's like fact or crap type stuff. So if you read a couple of chapters, read that one especially because I feel like it really puts into perspective what people think and what is true. Obviously, don't let the truth get in the way of a good story. But at the same time, if it's not true, it's not true. Just understand that. Okay, so in chapter 27, this is the African American contributions. This was another look at Nearest Green and others like him. It explored how enslaved and free African Americans contributed their technical skills and labor, and it pushed for historical justice and rightful recognition. So they already talked about this. He talked about this once in the past, but it's brought back up because now there are free slaves, right? The free slaves, and they're still working for the distilleries. They're free, and they're still doing the same job that they were doing because they were good at it, and because they're masters. I hate to say that word, but their masters would basically like, even if you are free, I'd love for you to work for me, you know, because you're good at what you do. So it talks about that, and it pushes, you know, recognition, because obviously a lot of the African American heritage is it's not a great past, right? We'll just say that it's not great. So they want the recognition of doing the thing, so that, you know, they have some sort of ownership to it. Does that make sense? Which they should, because if they were doing the thing, then they should have the ownership of saying, hey, I did the thing, right? And it should be in the history books, and it should be in the things. But, you know, a lot of times history is skewed. because it doesn't make one party look good, right? And I'm gonna move on. Sorry. I get very when I talk about things, I get very opinionated, and I don't this especially with something like this. I don't want to be opinionated because this is going over a book, right? I have my opinions about things, and nothing against what Drew has said on paper. I'm saying in that time and in the time of the world that we're in now, I put it all into perspective for myself, right? And I put it through this lens of me, of what I think about it, and it's not really what I think; it's what's on the paper. Does that make sense? And so I'm trying to keep my bias out of it as well. Like Drew has said, he's like, I don't want it to turn into a lore thing or this is how I believe. I want it to be actually the words that were in print. You know what I mean? If that makes sense. In chapter 28, it's called the Modern Craft Movement. Small distilleries began popping up again in the 2000s. So we're already up to the 2000s. Legislative reform slowly opened the door for more producers. It focuses on innovation, storytelling, and authenticity, which is what we're all about. We're all about a good story. We're all about doing something cool. And we're all about, what was the other thing? Authenticity, being your true self, being nothing but yourself. That is one thing at this podcast where we love authenticity. And that's one thing I can say I've never not been, right? I try to come to you as authentic as I can, and give you my perspective of how I feel about it. And in saying what I just said before, right? You know, I don't want to be biased by anything I say. So it's kind of funny that it, you know, just fell into. So now we're getting into modern times, and we have industrial distillation now. I mean, we're bumping out. I mean, you can do 60 barrels a day if you want, you know, more, depending upon how much money you want. And everything turns into automated, right? It's really self-sufficient, right? Closed container transfer, you know, everything is monitored with computers and sensors and stuff like that. Whereas back in the day, obviously they had to do it by sight, taste, smell, and fire or steam or whatever, you know, so a little bit different. They're still using steam though. Most of them. We'll talk about what I was fixing to say here in a second. But, okay. Chapter 29, rebuilding trust. You know, consumers relearning to trust Tennessee whiskey beyond Jack Daniels. Craft brands work to provide quality and tradition. Tensions between heritage and innovation become a theme. So this is right up my alley, right? This is right up my alley. The craft guy coming in and saying, hey, holding the heritage guys to their things and being like, hey, you suck. Do this instead, right? Why are you doing it like that? That's not the right way to do it. Or calling them out on their BS, or saying, hey, you're taking up more shelf space than you need to with your 72 SKUs. Stop. I need some shelf space for my Tennessee whiskey as well. And then, yeah. So, in chapter 30, I have a whole deep dive of chapter 30. So, this is called Looking Ahead. And I have this kind of, you know, in bullet points, so to speak. The first one is a moment of reclamation. Hannush frames the chapter by a call to action to rediscover and redefine Texas whiskey. After years of being overshadowed by Kentucky bourbon and dominated by one or two brands like Jack Daniels, new voices are rising. It's no longer just about the old guard. It's about the craft and the culture and the courage. And then it goes into balancing past and future. The book asks, how can Tennessee distillers honor tradition while still innovating? It's a big thing. There's tension, right? Stay true to the techniques like the Lincoln County process, or break from those rules and define new flavor profiles. What do you do? Right? Do you stay with your old trusty, or do you try something new, or try something different, or do like old Dominic's doing and do one of those? And I mean, at cast strength, a single barrel, yes, please, right? That's what we're getting into now, right? We're getting into these people are more informed and they want the different. They want the different. They want the new. They want the now. But they also want something unique that they're not going to be able to find anywhere else. What do you make that defines you from everyone else in the system, right? There's so many whiskeys out there. So many whiskeys. And guess what? Not one of them is the same as the other. Even Jim Beam and Jim Beam, Black, they're different. Wild Turkey Rare Breed, they're different. Everything is different. Every SKU you have out there is different. So just finding that. Okay, so then the third bullet point is craft distillation as a cultural force. The 21st century boom in micro distilleries has three things. Create a space for more inclusive stories. So take your story. It might not be as old as Jack Daniels, right? I get it. It might not be that old, but what's your story? Use that. Like when we talk to Old Dominic, they have a very old story that's been revived, which I love. I love a revival story. It brought back local pride to towns that lost their distillery century ago. So it's bringing the community into this as well. And it empowers entrepreneurs, women, and people of color to reclaim their place in whiskey. Amen. Amen. Because as we learned in the book, the first distillers of Tennessee whiskey and probably the first distillers of whiskey in America were women. And then after that, it was the enslaved. White man, so to speak. He was more of the money man, right? He wanted the distillery. He just, I don't know. He didn't want, a lot of them did, though. He didn't want to get his hands dirty, but a lot of them did do the thing. But yeah, just empowering those people and putting them up on a pedestal that they need to be on and talking about them like we have with this podcast, talking about these people and bringing them to light, bringing the Roberts family and the Robertson family, rest in peace, Phil. I always liked Duck Dynasty. Don't get me wrong. I'm going on that tangent. Yes, I am. I always liked Duck Dynasty. I thought it was funny and kooky and stuff like that. But I kind of thought it was gimmicky a little bit, right? But then when you see the real people doing the real thing in real life, Phil Robertson was from day one that I'd never met the man or anything like that. You could tell he was very genuine in what he was saying. And you don't get that very often with people, right? They put on airs, they put on a show, they put on a thing. He never did. And it's unfortunate. Well, it's not unfortunate. It's unfortunate that he's no longer with us. But you know what? The Lord needed him a little bit more than we did right now. So he might be up there preparing some duck blinds for us or something. Anyway, I've never been duck hunting. I don't know if I would want to go either. It's cold. You're in the dirt. Got dogs. Anyway. All right. The final message. This tells the whole story. Hannush's final plea. Don't just sip the whiskey. Know where it comes from. Support brands that embrace transparency, recognize their heritage, and take bold steps forward without rewriting or erasing the past. Why as humans in this life, do we feel we have, and I'm going to say the words, I'm sorry, do we feel we have to shit on everything? Why can't we just be like, this is our past? It's not pretty sometimes, but guess what? It's our past. And we've now learned to make the best of it, right? Without all of those things, I'm not condoning any of the negative things that happen in any of our past, right? Mine included. I'm not condoning the things that happened. But if those things didn't happen, I, as a person, and Tennessee, I'm not comparing myself to Tennessee whiskey. No, I'm not. I, as a person, would not be the same without my torrid past, right? And Tennessee whiskey would not be the same without its torrid past. So without understanding where you came from, it's really hard to understand where you're going because you have no foothold. You have no accountability, right? You're just like, oh, you know how many times you have to screw up before you get it right? A lot. I don't want to walk into something already getting it right. The whole point of the process is to screw up and then finally get it right, right? Now, to screw up in people's lives and stuff like that, yes, you pay the consequences for your screw up. Don't get me wrong. No sin goes untold, right? You mess with somebody, you're going to get, mess with the bull, get the horns, type thing. But if we don't have those trials and tribulations, we are forged in fire. And what does that do? That makes us stronger. When you forge something in fire and then you quench it, it makes it hard as steel, right? I watch Forged in Fire a lot. Not all the time, sometimes. I don't like a couple of those guests on there. They're kind of weird. It would key. I don't like him. He's a weirdo. All right. Let's do some questions. I have questions. Where are they? Good Lord. Right here. All right. So we finished the book. Thank you so much for all the time, effort. The views were actually pretty good on it, on both of the other episodes. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. I didn't know how this was going to go. I hoped it would go good because, as you can tell, I put a little time in it. I try to put time in all of my episodes, but this one, obviously, I had to read and take notes and do things, right? So cheers. All right. Let's go to this one. These are just some questions, right? This one is on prohibition and survival. The emotional devastation. Oh, never mind. What am I doing? Huh? Where is it at? Okay, whatever. I lost them. Yeah, I don't know what happened. I must have thrown them away. Ah, crap. Oh, well, it's fine. These are just some things to think about when you're thinking of Tennessee whiskey and thinking of this book and thinking of what we've just done. I feel like it's a pretty big accomplishment to do what we just did, right? And I know I glossed over these chapters. It's a lot. It's 400 pages of book, right? It's a lot of reading. But if you take your time and read through it, it's rewarding. I will tell you that. The big picture. Tennessee whiskey is not just a drink. It's a symbol of Southern heritage, racial dynamics, industrialization, and resilience. Unlike bourbon, which has to be clean and commercial, which had a clean and commercially narrative, have been, oh my gosh, I cannot read. Unlike bourbon, which has had a clean and commercial narrative for decades, Tennessee whiskey is a messy, rich, and unfinished And that's what makes it exciting. The future of flavor. Will Tennessee whiskey stay defined by the Lincoln County process? Food for thought. What innovations are already starting to break that mold? Look at Chattanooga. Out of Chattanooga, obviously. They are doing some weird stuff. The really weird stuff. Yeah, might deep dive that one. Anyway, will more distilleries go the grain to glass route and develop estate grown whiskeys? Okay, so I'm going to stop right there because in the very near future, it's a couple podcasts from now. It's in the books. It's already been recorded. We talked to somebody who is doing an estate grown distillery, and the things that they're doing over there, it is absolutely fantastic. They watch the grains grow. They know if they're going to have a good yield or not. They're doing all the things to keep it in-house. Malting, floor malting, all of the things. They have, what I'm not going to give too much away. They have warehousing that mimics Scotland. Yes, I said it. So they can age some single malt in the same climate that it would be in Scotland. Climate controlled. How cool is that? And humidity. Climate and humidity. So you get the exact humidity and the exact climate that you would have in Scotland. Tell me that ain't cool. Now, it's not Tennessee whiskey, but it's super cool and it's innovating and it's estate grown. It is, to me, the more distilleries go to the grain to glass type thing, the more I get behind them. Because like with everything, you know what you're putting in your mouth, right? You don't know where like today I was eating barbecue. I don't know where that cow came from, right? But when you go to the grocery store and you buy groceries, do you pay extra for organic because you know it's organically grown? Some people do. I do. There's big talks of all of these additives and stuff that they're putting into drinks and stuff like that, the dyes and all that. I mean, they've been around forever. I don't know why all of a sudden right now it's a big deal. But yet they still eat freaking Cheetos. Like, shut up. Like, quit complaining about Red 40 and just get rid of Cheetos too, right? Now, don't get me wrong. I love a Cheeto, right? I'm not going to say that. But like, if you're damning one thing, it doesn't help, right? There are impoverished people in this world and in the United States, right, that cannot afford to buy organic grass-fed. I'm sorry, they can't. Because guess what? WIC or food stamps won't, they won't allow it. They only allow you to get certain foods. This is WIC approved. That's what it says. So it's like, watch my mouth. Watch my mouth. Moving on. Global impact. Why not? As Uncle Nearest, Corsair, and other craft brands gain international attention, how will Tennessee whiskey be perceived on the world stage? Okay, so Jack Daniels has a name all over the place, right? We know this. But Uncle Nearest, there is a RNDC truck, Republic distributor here in town, and it has huge Uncle Nearest signs all over it, right? I need to get a bottle of Uncle Nearest just to try it, or at least a sample, right? How will Tennessee whiskey be perceived on a world stage? I feel like it'll be, in a way, it'll be like, okay, that's bourbon's brother, right? I don't know if it's ever going to beat out Kentucky bourbon. I'm not saying it's not better. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is I don't know if it'll beat it out because of the fact that nobody knows these distilleries, right? They know 2-3 distilleries in Tennessee. That's it. They don't know the hundreds of distilleries that are in Kentucky, right? They just have a foothold. Unfortunately, they have a foothold. There was a reason for it. I don't know what the reason was, but there is a reason for it. And we could talk about that off camera if you would like. And will it continue to evolve as a distinct category or stay in bourbon's shadow? It's almost like I knew what I was talking about. You know what I mean? Oh, Lord. I got rid of that one. Oh, this one's gone too. I put it to the side. I don't know why I did. I got a trash can right there. All right. Legacy and you know what? I'm out of whiskey. Out of whiskey. So, yeah. No, we'll not do the Old Dominic. Yeah, let's do the Old Dominic again. Just a little bit. Just to wrap up, guys. Just to wrap it up. Hope you guys are enjoying this. We're almost done. We're going to talk about some other stuff. Super caramel. Super caramel. Legacy and responsibility. What role do whiskey drinkers, historians, and even podcasters play in preserving and promoting? There's a bug. And promoting this history. Well, I feel like, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, me doing what I'm doing right now is trying to promote and preserve Tennessee whiskey's history. It gave me so much insight to how Tennessee whiskey really is and how, I'm going to say it, how cool Tennessee whiskey really is. It's not just Jack Daniels, and it's not just bourbon that's been charcoal filtered. It's not. It's its own thing. It's its own heritage. Okay, last one, and then we'll get into a couple of questions. Can drinking whiskey become an act of cultural remembrance and not just indulgence? I think it can. Because when you pick up a glass or pick up a bottle, you're not only picking up, yeah, that bottle might have only been made a month ago, right? Sure. 2 months ago, whatever. But the history, the science, and all the things that went behind the scenes with that makes a big difference, doesn't it? It really does. If you know you're drinking history, like picking up a bottle of Uncle Nearest, right? It's history in a bottle. Now, did Uncle Nearest make it? Absolutely not. No. Did somebody in his family make it? Maybe. I don't really know the whole story with Uncle Nearest. I know it was revived by his great granddaughter or something like that, or cousin or something like that. But it's cool. Don't get me wrong. It's really cool. I love it. But whenever you pick up a bottle like that, and it doesn't have to be Tennessee whiskey, it can be any whiskey, right? And you see that, you think of the hands that made it, and the time, money, and energy that went into making that whiskey. And even getting a sample. Think about getting a sample from somebody. And thank you, Richard, again for the sample. It was amazing. Think about getting a sample from somebody. I give samples to a lot of people, right? And you have to put the label on it, if you use labels, or the Scotch tape or whatever. You have to put the liquid in it, right? So you have to find the right bottle, put it in there with your little funnel, you know what I mean? Because it will spill all over the floor if you don't. You have to do time. You have to put time into that. And so it's like you have to think about what that person did. They actually thought of you when they were doing the damn thing. Really cool. All right, here's some audience engagement questions. Yeah. Ready? What kind of Tennessee whiskey do you want to see more of in the future? I would like to see more craft Tennessee whiskeys, and there are quite a few actually. I'd like to see more of those. Corsair is doing some amazing stuff, obviously. Do you prefer distilleries that stick to tradition or those who experiment? To me, why can't it be both, right? Why can't you have your core range of just traditional? This is a traditional Tennessee whiskey, unadulterated. This is exactly what it is. Given the mash bill, this is what it is. The age, all the things, right? And then do something different with that, like put it in a single barrel, make it at cast strength, finish it, double barrel it, however you want to do it, right? do something else with it. I have another sample over there. I was going to get into this, but I think I'm going to do a whole, video on it or whatever. And it's called the Distiller's something. And it's a mix of Tennessee bourbon and Tennessee whiskey. It's really kind of cool. So I'm excited to get into that. I just love holding on to the history, but the experiment of moving forward and changing and doing different things. Make a Tennessee whiskey and put a little oats in it, right? Put a little oats or put a little quinoa or, like Corsair's doing some. Anyway, that was a weird whiskey episode. You guys, knew all about that. Have you discovered a craft Tennessee whiskey brand that you think deserves more love? Yes, Old Dominick. I think that Old Dominick deserves more love. And I'm not just saying that because they came on the podcast. I'm saying that because they're doing really cool stuff. And there's a bunch more I can say. But how important is it to you that a whiskey brand tells truthful stories about its origin? Well, What do you think? You have to tell truthful stories? Now, I will say, there's not a person out there that doesn't embellish a story. I guarantee you they do. They're going to embellish a story or two. Is it truthful? Partially. Is it not truthful? Partially. So take that for what it is. I do love legit history, right? I want to know, this is my great grandpappy's farm. This is his recipe. We updated it, obviously. We have this new still. We're doing all these new things as well. But then the story telling behind it, right? The story, there's a story inside the truth. Does that make sense? Like the truth is the circle of trust, right? And inside the circle of trust is a story. That story, more than likely, every story that I've heard, at least, and I've been doing this podcast for a minute, has been embellished. Most of them are truthful, but they've been embellished. Why? To make it more grandiose, right? Nobody wants to hear the story about my great-granddad struggled his entire life to make a distillery and it sucked. And it was really hard. And the whiskey we made was crap. And then finally one day we sold out to Diageo and we became the big brand. Nobody wants to hear that story. They want to hear the story of, hey, my great-grandpappy had a farm and he distilled and it sucked and it was hard, but he made good liquor and word got around. And then finally somebody came up to him and said, hey, I need to help you with this. And they worked on marketing and they worked on getting his supplies and he got a bigger still. And next thing you know, he's blowing and going. And then he gets old and he realizes he wants his heritage to go forward. And his son comes in and takes over the company. And then the son says, I need more help. And so then they have Diageo buy them out. And they're still producing fantastic whiskeys to this day. Which story do you like better? Yeah, exactly. They're both true. Right? They're both true. But there's storytelling inside the story, the embellishments and the prominence on certain categories makes for it. And that's where Drew Hannush is a master of this. I'm not saying he's embellishing. I'm not at all. I'm saying the way that he words it and the way that he talks about things, it makes the story worth listening to. Does that make sense? Okay. So on these last notes that I'm going to give you about Tennessee whiskey. Cheers. Tennessee whiskey has a torrid past. It does. We've learned that just now. 30 chapters of it, right? But I will tell you that had I not deep dove into this book And had I not done the research into it, I would have the same old bias that I've had about Tennessee whiskey. And it's the truth. I now have a newfound respect for Tennessee whiskey, and I take back my words when I said that Tennessee whiskey is just bourbon that's been charcoal mellowed. It's not. It's not. It categorizes as a bourbon. Yes, it does. Okay, that is true. But it is not bourbon. It is its own thing. Just like Irish whiskey is its own thing, right? Just like Texas whiskey is its own thing, right? Tennessee whiskey is its own thing. So it's made me appreciate that a lot more. It's made me think, okay, I was wrong. And I'll be the first to say it. I was wrong with my bias and with my negativity towards Tennessee whiskey. And I apologize for that. I think I already have, but I apologize for that because it was stupid of me, and it was unintelligent of me actually to do that, because I know now, after reading Drew's book, I know that Tennessee whiskey has a lot to offer, and Jack Daniels has a lot to offer me actually. So yes, Jack Daniels, I am accepting your request to come on the podcast. If you want to come on, you're more than welcome. Let's talk. Did they hear that? I don't know. Anyway, I say all that to say this. This has been a ride. We did 3, actually 4, if you want to count the podcast, the Talk with Drew episodes on Tennessee whiskey. Just Tennessee whiskey. We did a couple on bourbon, right? We did a couple on scotch, but this is just on Tennessee whiskey. So it's a lot. I know it's a lot to take in. I know it's a lot. I hope it was enjoyable. I hope you guys got something out of this. If you got one nugget out of this or one nugget out of the book, it's worth it for me. It was worth the price of admission, so to speak, right? So one thing you guys can do to help me is give me a like, a share, thumbs up, give me a comment down below. Please. Negative, positive, uplifting, not 5-star reviews, please. But yeah, I mean, Tennessee whiskey has so much more to give. And I feel like people are just now, I mean, they've been a thing for a while, but people are just now getting back on the Tennessee train, I think. I hope. So, I will leave you with this. Happy Father's Day again. I know it's going to be late. I mean, like 2 weeks late, whatever. Happy Father's Day. And y'all be good. Drink water. It's hot. Y'all need to drink water. And make sure, I'm gonna say this and try not to get emotional. Make sure that when you're partaking in a way that's uplifting, and not doing it in a way that is abusive to your body, or to your mind, or to your soul. That's all I can say. Treat it with respect, because it can bring up some demons as well, right? So, y'all be good, be blessed, and until next time, keep your spirits up. Peace out.